Take 2.
Take 12. And Shane is still not here yet. No Shane. So, yeah, what are we going to do?
What can you do?
What can you do? The old wise one's not with us.
Yeah.
So, it's like having an owl that's perched over here.
Yeah.
What do Shane and an owl share in common?
Legs.
Legs. Yes, legs. The owl's got little skinny legs. They say owls are very wise.
Yeah.
That's not Shane. So
Owls are super aggressive.
Shane.
Yeah.
Shane.
Owls are actually the buttholes of the forest, actually.
Yeah.
People call them that.
I don't think owls like it when other animals
Are alive?
or tweet about them when they're not there.
Tweet about them?
Tweet about them. You like that? Tweet
Online?
about them? Yeah, online tweet about them. Kind of like Shane's not going to like how we're...
bitch-ass owl.
Yeah. Shane's
like
not going to like how
blue
we're
jay.
talking about him today. So, well, we're talking about a subject today that Shane really wouldn't have any input on anyway. So, false.
Yeah.
If we were going to shoot it with 2 out of 3 of us, Shane would be much better to shoot it with than I would be. This would be Shane and Chris's subject. But since Shane's somewhere, I don't know. Is Shane alive right now?
Oh, dude, he's doing dad stuff today for sure.
Dad stuff?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say deadlifts. I was like, blow his back up again.
I think he did do deadlifts today, probably.
Yeah, that's why he's not here. He can't walk through the door.
Yeah,
So, but
that's a lie. Dad stuff.
nutrition today. Chris,
Yeah.
I know you work with some folks nutrition-wise.
Yep. Nutrition makes me angry.
Is it something that... Why would nutrition make you angry?
There's just a lot of stuff out there.
Is there?
Yeah. Hey, nutrition is even more so than working out. It's much easier to sift through the bullcrap with somebody about training and working out than it is nutrition. There's just a lot out there, and it's only going to get worse because you get the new diet every 2 years.
How much, when you're looking at stuff online and you're seeing stuff kind of pop out at you, and like you said, anywhere you go, you can find research on nutrition.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you can find articles on nutrition.
Right, yeah.
How many of those articles that you see are research-based?
Not very many. Or they'll point to a study, and then if you know how to read a study, you'll go to that study and you'll be like, that's not even what they said that did in the article.
Yeah.
Or you'll read an article that talks about something, and then when you get into a study, even the study itself says, the change was not a significant change, but in the article they're like, if birds do it, we should do it too, or something.
Yeah.
And it's just okay, here we go.
How long is a typical study? Not time-wise how long, but sit down and read a study. How long are you normally looking to sit down and read one?
Oh, if you're reading a study, it just depends on the one. Some are super simple, and straightforward, and you can just probably read the abstract. Some are way more in depth, and if you want to see how they went about things, and you're going to want to look at that. It could be anywhere from 15 minutes you're looking at for 45 minutes to an hour.
I was about to say, you threw out a word there that I was looking for you to throw out, abstract.
Yeah.
There's a reason why studies have abstracts.
Yeah.
Because normally they're long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they're intensive.
Yeah.
And I think that is significant whenever you sit down and you read an article that takes you 4 minutes to read on social media, and all of a sudden they found the mecca of nutrition, and they quote a study, and it took you 3 minutes to read that article, and they quote a study, and the abstract takes you longer than 3 minutes to read the study. There's probably a lot more to what went on in that study than what meets the eye.
And studies are so tough too, especially epidemiological ones, where they just take vast numbers of things and collect data and then present it, and that's where you get a lot of generalizations from. the best epidemiological one is probably like red meat is bad for you because we've shown that people who eat red meat are more likely to have cancer. But then, like, that doesn't take into account, okay, how many of those people that you polled or you talked to or you gathered diet information on, how many of those people are eating 5 ounces of steak along with a whole thing of asparagus and a couple pieces of fruit versus how many people are getting that red meat from McDonald's and their side is a fries and a Coke. Yeah. They're not looking at the other pieces of the diet. And so that's where you get like, red meat's bad for you. Like, you haven't shown that in a healthy diet.
Yeah. Well, and normally if a study is well done.
Yeah.
And you're presented with a control group, they will be able to show what that control group has had.
Yeah.
But a lot of times you're not getting that side of the story whenever you see the 3-minute article that you read that all of a sudden makes you question everything that you're doing nutrition-wise. So, with that being said, you're looking at nutrition. What's the significant factor or change that you're trying to accomplish whenever you start adjusting somebody's nutrition?
Significant factor that you're trying to change when you're doing this nutrition. I think the first goal is, can we get you eating a healthy and sustainable diet and then get you to a healthy body fat percentage?
Gotcha.
And I noticed I said body fat, not body weight. There is some correlation there, but you won't always see it. You'll have outliers. For instance, I'm virtuing on obese on the BMI calculator, as would you.
I was about to say, I am obese on the BMI calculator.
I'm not walking around with a 12-pack, but I'm also definitely not obese, right? Neither are you. You know what I mean?
6-pack.
Whatever, dude. I'm just trying to be like
that. Might be why you don't have a 6-pack,
right? Because I actually have a 12-pack.
Yeah, exactly. You're reaching for the 12-pack. So you set out to work with somebody nutrition-wise. What's the first thing that you're going to ask them to do?
You're going to want to take a look, in my opinion, at what they've been eating. So you ask for that week before, and then to kind of top that off, I know we've talked about this before, is after you looked at the week before, you kind of want to take a look a week ahead.
Gotcha.
So what have you eaten this past week? Have them list that out for you. And then now, from there, eat this week and then bring that back to me. You get a feel for that person's habits. Have them write down the times that they're eating. How's that lining up with their day? And then that kind of gives you a place to start with, right? Because, if I can't ask you to go on and eat this way. I can't provide you with like a rough idea of what your day should look like for eating. If it's going to require you to flip everything in your day upside down, it's going to be too much for you. So I'm going to look at what you're doing, and then I'm going to start with the one simple thing. Then I'm going to add a second simple thing and a third simple thing. It's got to be like that.
And to say that one of the most important things there with that is that somebody's honest in that. And normally, if somebody's come to you to look for nutrition advice, they're not going to be dishonest and be like, well, I don't need this or I don't need that. But what you might see in one of these nutrition logs is that they're looking at what they eat and they realize that, hey, that's out of whack. Mm-hmm. So they're going ahead and adjusting it and taking it out of their diet before you see the log. And that's not really what you need as a coach. That doesn't give you an accurate portrayal of what they're coming in with.
Yeah.
So, but we talked about body fat. And one of the things when you start talking about body fat, people have a tendency to look at calories in versus calories out. Is that a clear-cut thing, or how does that play into nutrition?
So when you're talking about overall body composition and weight gain or weight loss, the number one factor is going to be how many calories are going into your body and how many you're expelling, how many you're taking out. You have a tough time outworking high calories because just the amount of time it takes to burn versus the amount of time it takes to get it in. You can eat 1,000 calories way quicker than you can burn
1,000 calories.
Just how it is, no matter what you do. Now, that being said, that is the biggest proponent. Like, you take two people who are eating 1,800 calories, one's getting it, and let's say these two people have the same metabolic rate. You take a person eating 1,800 calories and pizza and all that kind of stuff, and maybe they have like a meal here or there that you'd be like, hey, that's a good healthy meal. But for a majority, it's not good, and the timing's all over the place and whatnot. Versus someone who's got their ducks in a row, they got pretty good meal timing. They're eating good whole foods. They're eating lean meats as their protein. Their vegetables are making up the biggest volume of food. Meaning, like, if you took your plate, the biggest portion of the plate is vegetables. It's taking up more space than any other food. And they're eating fats and carbs as they need, right, based on their activity that day. While for a little bit they might lose weight at the same rate, and let's say the person eating the pizza and the whatnot start to fall off because that's their normal diet, right? I'm not saying pizza's bad or anything like that. And the people who got their ducks in a row are eating clean or eating that way most of the time. They sustain their weight loss, but the person eating badly is not sustaining. Most people will be like, well, it's because he's eating badly and it's throwing off his hormones and stuff like that. No, what's probably happening is the lack of nutrition is affecting his sleep, the energy levels while they're awake, the amount of micronutrients they're getting are not holding sufficiently to providing them with good exercise, or they're just naturally in their day-to-day, they're not moving as much. Right? That's an underrated thing. If you just naturally move around a lot, right, you're burning calories. But if you're not getting adequate nutrition, you might literally be just not moving around less. You might not be up and doing stuff. So, while the calories in, calories out is the biggest proponent, that food quality is going to play a huge role in sustainability and health.
Gotcha. You mentioned something in there that you hear people throw out a lot, especially when they're talking about weight loss, and that's hormones.
Yeah.
How big of a role do they play in it?
They play a pretty good role. You got leptin, that's the hunger hormone. That's the one that's telling you you're hungry. And that can maybe you get more hunger pains when you're eating less dense food or calorie-dense food that's not sustaining you. So you're not having a lot of vegetables and things like that. Good whole foods that, like, high volume is not a lot of calories, but it fills you up really quick. And that's going to, like, dissipate that leptin level a little bit. Hormones definitely play a role, but you don't want to put the cart before the horse and be like, I can't lose weight because my hormones are out of whack because the doctor told me my hormones are out of whack. It's like, your hormones might be out of whack because you're too high body fat. You're at an unhealthy body fat, and your body is overstressed and is doing too much to overcome that, right? And so your first goal needs to be to get your body fat down and find the amount of intake you need to and increase your output level.
Gotcha.
Like, start there. Don't until you truly exhausted. And I have yet to meet a person, and they might be out there, right? And I'm not going to call you a liar if you tell me that that's your case. But I haven't met many people that really put in the work nutritionally and are like, okay, I'm going to dial this in, and then I'm going to increase my output, and I'm going to do it consistently, who don't lose weight.
Gotcha.
You might lose it a little bit slower than someone else, but it's...
For a doctor to figure out that your hormones are out of the levels that they need to be, what would they need to do?
That's mostly through blood testing.
Gotcha.
Mostly. There is some tests that aren't blood tests, but
gotcha.
That'd be mostly through blood testing.
So would it be a red flag to you as a coach if you were working with somebody whose hormones, they were saying their doctor was telling them that their hormones were out of level, and you asked them about their blood test and they told you that they had never had a blood test?
Yeah. Because then you're just going off assumptions. Mm-hmm. That'd be like me saying, that'd be like someone saying, yeah, shoulder hurts a lot. Doctor just said to stop moving it. Well, is it tendonitis, tendinosis? Is it a labrum? Is it a bursa? I mean, what is it? Is it a muscle tear? I mean, all those things require a different medium to fix or a different plan of action. So you have to be really careful with that. Like, make sure. And, this might sound bad, but, doctors just as much as anybody need to, like, have their ducks in a row when they're telling people something. Because if a doctor gives something to someone and doesn't back it up with, here's what you might be experiencing, here's what's going on, here's the things I want you to take a look at, and here's the blood test showing it. If it's not backing up with that and he's just making general assumptions, he or she is just making general assumptions, then that person's just going to go tell everyone else that's experiencing similar things that that's what's wrong with them too.
Yeah.
And that's where you get this whole crap of mess where everyone just starts thinking, oh, my hormones are off. That's why I'm overweight, dude. It's not because my diet sucks 94% of the time.
And maybe your hormones are off because you are overweight.
Yeah.
Because your body fat is higher than what it needs to be at or should be at. Another kind of, when you talk to people about nutrition, I won't say, another thing that you hear a lot about is people with food allergies. Mm-hmm. Thoughts on people with food allergies? Real, not real?
So food allergies are definitely a real thing, and you can build up intolerances to foods. You can experience intolerances. The thing you don't want to go overboard with is like being really careful with saying like, I'm tired because of this one type of food or something like that, or assuming you have a disease just because you eat something and it doesn't agree with you. Like gluten intolerance and celiac disease aren't the same thing, like don't go overboard with it. The thing I would tell people is your general culprits for things like that are dairy and gluten, and some people can experience intolerances to those things. Take a month off from it. Don't eat it. Don't have anything. And then reintroduce it and see how it makes your bowel movements go. See how you feel. If you don't like the way it makes you feel, don't have it. Like, not a huge deal. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
And then start avoiding it. The cool thing about some of that stuff is you go eliminating a lot of that stuff, and then people sometimes will lose weight when they do that. And they'll attribute it to the fact that let's say they're not eating gluten anymore. It's not because you're not eating gluten. It's that you just cut out so much of the crap that you're just eating, and now you're left with, oh, look, now all I can eat is lean meats, certain starches, and vegetables. Like,
nutrient-dense food?
Yeah. And it's like, maybe you wouldn't be as intolerant to the gluten if you only had it once or twice a week or once a week. You know what I mean? Like, I personally don't eat much pasta anymore. I used to, and like I would get those kind of feelings of like you get that heaviness and you feel just kind of weighed, bogged down. I get the same thing if I do like if I get a lot of like vegetable oils and things like that. Like I notice that. But if I only have it like once in a while, it doesn't throw me off. If I have it 2 days, 3 days in a row, I kind of feel it, right? I don't need to go get blood tests for that stuff. I'm just going by how I feel.
Yeah.
And I feel a lot better with that, so I just minimize it. And so the body can build up tolerances and stuff. So what I also recommend for people just eating in any way you can think of is rotate the foods you eat a lot. If you eat a lot of chicken, take a break from chicken for a week and eat beef like really lean ground beef or pork chops, something like that. And then like you could literally go chicken 1 week and then beef 1 week and then pork the next. And you rotate, you never build up like tolerances to that food. You get like really comfortable experiencing slightly different amino acid profiles.
And you get to figure out which type of meat you respond best to.
Yeah, you might respond. I mean, who is it? Larry Fitzgerald said he got blood tests done, and he said he responded. And he said his test said he responded really well to lamb, and so he just kept eating lamb.
Yep.
All right. Not that he had a sensitivity to other ones. He was like, my body just really works well with it. And he is an NFL player who's lasted into his late 30s as a skill position, which you don't see a lot.
Yeah. And you don't have to get a blood test to figure that out either. I know that for me personally, I like pork, but pork I don't feel as well after I eat pork as I do after beef or chicken.
Yeah,
I just don't. Not the same feelings there.
So you can make that self adjustment pretty easily.
So, that being said, you talk about nutrition. You hear a lot about protein. What's your thoughts on it?
So, protein is going to be the most important micronutrient.
Okay.
It doesn't have. There's no real negative data to protein. There was one posted in the last couple of years about rats having a shorter lifespan if they activated the mTOR pathway, which is leucine, which is an amino acid. Like if you've ever taken BCAAs, you know what leucine is. It's the most important part of BCAAs. It activates protein synthesis. So like when you want your body to rebuild something, you activate protein synthesis. And that's through pulling leucine out of the protein. But the problem with that is rats and humans are totally different profiles, and like rats have a totally different lifestyle than a human does. And the degree and the rate carryover to lifespan, isn't anything significant. Like it, if it's one of these things where it's like, hey, you can live till you're 94, or I can give you till you're 95. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, and to top it all off, you're not going to probably be able to do like a lot of the goals you have set for yourself because you're lacking in protein.
Gotcha.
Or how's that going to affect you psychologically?
Gotcha.
Like how is that going to affect you mentally? Having that lack of protein on your daily life. So protein is the most important one because it's not going to have any negative effects on your body as long as your kidneys are healthy. If you have kidney issues, yes, you're going to have to limit your protein. And that's where you bring in a doctor to kind of walk you through that. If you have healthy kidney function, you can eat protein. There was a study that they had people consume up to 3 to 4 times their body weight in protein for months on end, and nothing happened. And so I mean, it's the one that you can be like, and it doesn't have to be meat. You can get your protein however like if it's a moral thing, or you just don't like meat that much. To which, if it's a person who just doesn't like meat, my suggestion is work through all the meat products that you possibly can and see which ones do work for you. I don't like beef and I don't like chicken. Okay, what about pork?
Canned tuna.
Yeah, what about tuna? What about seafood? There's tons of different seafood. There's shrimp. There's fish. Find something that you can eat regularly and let's see how that works.
With your emphasis on protein, I don't want anybody to think that we're downplaying the importance of carbohydrates or fat.
Right.
And I think that's something that you see a lot of times. I think that's something that you see a lot of times in folks who are looking strictly for weight loss.
Yeah.
You start, I got to cut carbs and I got to cut fat out of my diet. That's a quick way to get you on a path you don't want to be on.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on carbs?
You're going to want to have carbs based on the activities that you do. if you were someone who all you ever wanted to do for exercise was just walk and that was it and that's all you're ever going to do, you're probably going to be good with just eating fats and not a lot of carbs. If you ever want to lift any weights at all, have a stronger body, you're going to have some carbs to supply that system with. You're going to have it. The second you produce any greater muscular force, you're going to want carbs. Like that. Consider lifting weights as a sport, and maybe in like triathletes or long distance runners, you can get away with just being a primarily fats diet because their intensity's never reaching their top level. There's more about volume. That's not to say those guys aren't fast and they're not kicking ass and doing cool things, but they're not, in an acute sense.
Gotcha.
They're never like pushing it. They're never like sprinting. They're never doing a Usain Bolt sprint in a triathlon. They're never swimming like Michael Phelps when they're in the water. It's just consistent and smooth. So carbohydrates are good, and you just need to eat them as needed. So if you're working out that day, maybe that you have your carbs set a little bit higher. And if you got days where you're not going to be doing much and you're just going to be sitting on the couch, keep your carbs a little lower. Gotcha. That's not going to have as great of effect, as just watching your total calorie intake, but it does help a little bit.
So lifestyle plays a huge factor in that. That being said, we're talking to our athletes at the CrossFit gym. Would you recommend somebody who is doing classes 5 days a week, really focused on general fitness, trying to improve health, would you recommend them going on a diet where they cut all their carbs out?
If from a recommendation standpoint, no. There are outliers. I mean, there's always going to be outliers in a population anywhere you look, where people are going to be like, and that's the tough part about outliers. It's like some people can just get away with whatever. Like, I see whatever, I got a six-pack, and I'm kicking butt in class every day. Yeah. Like, those are few and far between. And even those people, when you optimize their diets, get even better. It's like, okay. But I wouldn't recommend completely eliminating carbs. That doesn't mean you have to have a high-carb diet. I hate when people say like high, low, anything, because what does that mean? Yeah. You know what I mean?
What's low for one person may be high for another person. So.
But having a sufficient amount, and having that sufficient amount, if you're finding it on your own, comes from just using the baselines from your total calories and adjusting carbs as you feel, and just tracking how you feel each day. Like, when I work out with 200 carbs that day, I don't feel quite as good, but when I've upped it to 240 that day, I feel pretty good. Okay, then adjust your total macronutrients around that and make that adjustment.
And roll with it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a couple of the more popular nutrition trends that we're seeing. Intermittent fasting.
It can have some positive effects. It can provide some mental clarity and provide some simplicity to people's diets. That's where it helps probably the most, because it's like, hey, you can eat from 12 to 8. That's it. And you're like, okay. Nice. Kind of narrows your window in a little bit. There's no science that says that it improves weight loss any faster than any other diet. Because, like if you take someone who's just eating a normal regular diet and someone who's eating intermittent fasting, and they both have the same amount of calories, and let's assume they have, or you take the same person, you put them in both, their weight loss rate would be the same.
Gotcha.
Where people can kind of see benefits from intermittent fasting is what I just said before. It simplifies it and provides them a window, less opportunity to go over in their calories, less opportunity to cheat on their diet because they're kind of tied into this window, and they're like, okay, I'm going to eat this, and then by the time they want to eat something bad, they're like, my window's up. Yeah. So they're not going to eat that. So,
but I intermittent fasted for a period of time.
Yeah.
And it helped out. one of the big reasons it helped out with me is because one of the issues that I have is that I like to binge eat at night. Mm-hmm. I'll eat dinner, I'll go to sit in a recliner and wait for the children to go to sleep, or I'll go lay in bed after the children have gone to sleep, and I have snack. Well, when you're eating within a window, those opportunities go away. I mean, I guess still technically you could, but you're not really intermittent fasting then.
Right, yeah.
And that led to as you said when you started talking about it, a caloric reduction.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a reduction in calories, and an easy reduction in calories. Mm-hmm. So definitely has its place. Counting macros.
I think everyone should do it at least once to get a rough idea. You don't have to live by it, especially if you're someone who's in the healthy body fat range, where healthy body fat range is somewhere between 15 and 30 for women, 15 being pretty freaking low, actually. Yeah. 30 getting kind of high. And then for guys, anywhere from like 10 to 25, you'll see some 10s. Like, that's pretty actually freaking lean. Most pro CrossFitters are probably around 10 to 12. Like, a lot of people will be like, oh, that guy's got really good abs, he must be a 5. Like, no, 5's like stage bodybuilding. Yeah. Macros are good. They kind of give you an idea of portion sizes, which I think is a huge problem. When people kind of guesstimate and they're like, well, that's not a lot of food. And then it turns out you're eating a lot more than you think. It kind of gives you a kind of reality check. And it helps you make sure you're just hitting the things you need to hit.
Yeah. I think when it comes to macros, you mentioned high-end CrossFitters.
Yeah.
And kind of what I've seen in high-end CrossFitters, a lot of them do macros, but it's not for physique reasons. It's not so you can see their abs. It's so that you can so they're making sure they're getting the fuel they need to be able to work out the number of times they work out a day. Somebody who's working out 6 sessions a day is not going to be able to function off the same diet of somebody that's working out 1 session a day. And that is why a lot of them are counting macros, so that they can make sure that they're getting the fuel they need into their body. Yeah. So kind of hit on this a little bit earlier without flat out calling it by name, but the keto diet. Thoughts?
It's not awful. It's just using a different fuel for your body. Your body, after a little while, is going to adjust to that new energy source, which is going to be fats. It's not going to utilize carbs at all. It's going to try and utilize fats for what carbs do, and it's going to not be as efficient at doing that. So your high intensity is still going to suffer a little bit. Just like intermittent fasting, it puts restrictions on things, and that's where you see weight loss come from. The problem with keto a lot of times is the adherence rate. It's really bad. Unfortunately, doing keto 4 out of 7 days of the week and then the other 3 days blowing it doesn't work.
Not going to help.
And so you could do keto if you're going to adhere to it really well. And I mean really well, but that's tough. Yeah. And you'll see a lot of people kind of fall off, like even drinking alcohol is going to like ruin keto for you.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, well, it's a lot of lifestyle restrictions that you have to really deal with.
And you brought up a good point, and we hit on it in our first 11 takes, but not our 12th take.
Yeah, I really hope that camera's still on.
Yeah, me too. Adherence-wise, you says 4 out of 7 days a week. It doesn't matter if you are trying to adjust your nutrition for performance, if you're trying to adjust your nutrition for weight loss. If your adherence level is 4 out of 7 days a week, you're not going to obtain the goals that you want to get to.
Yeah.
I know CrossFit used to heavily condone like a trash day in your diet. Like you just eat whatever the heck you want to. And now they've kind of gotten away from that because it sets up a lot of bad habits. It doesn't set you up for success. And the goal here is to get you nutrition wise functioning on a level where you feel like you can attack the day. If that means that we want to adjust your nutrition where you lose weight, we adjust your nutrition where you lose weight. If we want to adjust your nutrition where you improve performance, we adjust nutrition where you improve performance.
Yeah.
So we talked about a lot of things. One of the things we haven't hit on that you do hear sometimes when you start getting into heavy nutrition talks, glycemic index. Doesn't matter.
So, in all honesty, not really.
Gotcha.
I'm going to say this because I actually got asked this by my wife, so shouts out to my wife. But luckily, someone told her this, and she remembered a talk we had months ago. And she was like, I didn't believe it.
That's impressive.
Yeah. She's good. I'm proud of her.
It's impressive anytime your wife remembers something you talked about months ago. So.
Brown
not
rice.
Just your wife.
Yeah.
I'm talking about any.
Brown rice is not healthier than white rice. The only difference is brown rice has the rough shell around it and has a very minuscule amount more fiber, right? On the glycemic index, white rice is got a higher score, right? Or a lower score, I forget how it works. Honestly, that tells you how little I care about it anymore. The problem with the glycemic index is it takes foods and how much they spike your insulin based on just that food eaten. But if I take rice and pair it with a lean meat and pair it with a bunch of veggies, that's all going to slow down the digestion rate anyway. And so it's going to lower the glycemic or raise it or however. It's going to slow it.
Yeah.
So it becomes a moot point. Unless you're going around eating all of your carbohydrates individually. Like even if you take fast digesting carbs, like if I take like an intra-workout shake with carbohydrates in it, but I also, take a bunch of fats and like peanut butter or something, mm-hmm. that peanut butter is going to slow down the rate that carb gets digested. Yeah. So if you're eating well-rounded diets, it really doesn't matter.
Gotcha.
Because the fiber and the other food is going to slow down that digestion rate anyway, to which it doesn't really play a role.
Coach Chris Eaton breaking down nutrition myths today.
Yeah, dude. Number one, brown rice is not better than white rice. And actually, you can make an argument that white rice digests easier, so therefore it'd be better for your stomach.
That's your call.
Yeah, that's your call. If you like brown rice, eat brown rice. I don't care.
Speaking of digestion.
Same calories.
Speaking of digestion, in your opinion, and a lot of this today has been your opinion, but it's been good stuff.
Yeah.
It's been your opinion.
Yeah, I would say it's 65% science, 35% opinion.
Hey, that's what we're going off of these days. So.
Yeah, sometimes it's just 100% opinion.
All opinion. Yeah. What do you think?
Science.
The number one thing that people are kind of missing the boat on, or really messing up when it comes to nutrition?
So the hidden nutrient I think people forget about, and this, especially if you're doing macros, this is really any diet. Except for, you could say it with keto, but keto you can still have vegetables. The amount of fiber you're getting and its effect on gut health. People think fiber regulates you. Fiber doesn't make you go or stop you up. Fiber regulates that, right? And that provides a good, healthy biome to make sure that you are taking in the nutrients that you're eating. Like you're actually uptaking all that protein that you're eating, uptaking all that carbs, right? Not just getting the calories, but the actual nutrients. Like you're digesting the vitamin D's and all that, right? Fiber is going to assist with that, and it's going to make you feel better. The gut is like your second brain, and we don't know much about gut health, despite what many people may lead you to believe. Gut health is going to be the thing that in the next 10 years blows up in nutrition. Like that is the next step. It's the next logical step that the really intelligent, people who care about nutrition are going towards. And fiber is the one that gets left out, but you really need to dial that in. So 30 to 40 grams for males, 20 to 30 for females, and make sure you're getting that in daily. And try to spread it out throughout your meals. so that you're having regular fiber, because fiber regulates everything, and it also regulates the amount of crappy food you can have. You're gonna have a tough time. Let's say you have, okay, so like for me right now, I'm at 2650 calories a day, right? I'm gonna have a tough time fitting in 40 grams of fiber and eating things like foot-long subs and lasagnas and pizzas and sugary foods.
Bro, are you knocking the lasagna Lindsay brought you?
No, it was good, and I ate it.
It's just banging,
and it fit
right?
in just fine.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna have a tough time if that's all I eat.
Yeah.
Right? Because that food's not going to provide enough fiber. So if I have that lock that I have to get that amount of fiber, it kind of creates like this natural restriction.
Yeah.
And what have we talked about? When you kind of restrict the bad stuff, you like put locks on it where,
you restrict it without knowing you're restricting it.
It's kind of like a natural barrier to eating like crap.
Yeah.
It helps a lot. And I think the one thing most people need to also know about nutrition is the really healthy person can go get drinks on a Friday and have quarter to a half a pizza and be fine. Mm-hmm. The unhealthy person can't do that.
Gotcha.
So you need to get yourself from point A to point B, and then you can have that lifestyle where you can occasionally go into what is considered unhealthy, right? I don't bash eating, if I see someone out having a pizza, I know as a CrossFit coach, people might think oh man, that guy's going to judge what I'm eating or something. No, I eat that stuff occasionally. It's great. Honestly, up until probably 2 months ago, I was eating it way too much, right? Which led to massive weight gain for me. I lost track of what I was eating, and I got back on track. I was like, whoa, I'm way off. What is going on here? It's not the one day that kills you. It's the fact that you're doing it wrong or right consistently.
Gotcha.
And that's where it comes down to habits.
That is one of the things we talked about in take 8 of this podcast.
Right.
Yeah.
Specifically take 8.
Yeah, specifically take 8.
Take 8. This is take 12. It's not
it's not nowhere near as good. You can have that one bad meal. Yeah. You can have that one bad day. Where you get in trouble is if that one bad meal occurs once a day, 5 out of the 7 days a week. Now we're in trouble with that. Or if that one bad day becomes 3 weeks in a row, a month in a row, now we're in trouble. That's what we want to try to steer away from. To strict nutrition every day, every meal is extremely tough.
Yeah.
And what we don't want you to do is, if you do have a bad meal, to beat yourself up about it. Just get right. Next meal is an opportunity to do better.
Yeah.
So get right back on track.
Well, it's kind of like if someone if someone criticizes you for something, you hold on to it for weeks on end. It's kind of like you don't okay, and just take it for what it was. Either you're gonna take it for what it was and just move on, but or you're gonna take what that person says, use it, move on, or what that person said doesn't apply to you and they're misspeaking, and you just move on. Either way, you got to just move on, and don't think of it as I also don't want people to think of it as cheating or not cheating on your diet either. That food is not your spouse, and stop romanticizing it.
Yep.
That is something we as a culture, and the culture of the gym that we're in, we need to get away from. Yeah. There should be no talk of cheating on your food.
Nope.
Right? Because that's dumb. That implies that you're married to some specific food types and you shouldn't have this other one, and when you have it, it's bad.
Yeah.
It's taboo. It's no. You know how you should probably be eating most of the time, and that is good, whole, nutritional food. Eat that way most of the time. And if you find yourself in a situation where you're not eating that food, it's okay. But that just can't be your habit. Don't feel guilty about it and feel stupid and dive yourself worse into it, because that's what you'll do.
Yep.
Right? Just make an understanding with yourself of, Friday hung out with some friends and had a bunch of, buffalo chicken dip or whatever, and had a half a bag of chips with it, and then, had a few beers or whatever. Okay, move on. Next day's Saturday. What are you going to do? Oh, I'm going to eat super healthy. No, just eat the way you know you should be eating.
Yep.
If you're doing that, everything's just going to clear itself out.
Or worse, next day, Saturday, I had a crappy night nutrition-wise last night, so now I'm just not going to eat anything all day Saturday.
Yeah.
So don't do that.
It's never like people never look at say when you view the bad days as not so negative. It's just things that happen.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're being strict and trying to lose weight, then just go into that bad situation and understand. Okay. I'm gonna limit my portions. Like I'm not gonna feel guilty or whatever. Like I'm gonna just have a slice or two.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like just have realistic, and it kind of goes back to that positive self-talk we talked about last week. Have realistic conversations with yourself before you commit actions.
Yeah.
Right? Like you have way more power over yourself than you think.
Yeah.
Right? Don't let the placebo effect of life affect everything you're doing, in which you think that just because you should feel some way or society's saying you should feel some way, you should.
Yeah.
Right? Just go into it with a realistic, clear mind of like, all right, I'm back on track. But that being said, to get back on track, you have to have a good track.
Yes.
So create healthy habits that you can always revert back to, because that's so easy, right?
Yeah.
Right? If you have an off day, but you know what you usually eat and you rotate. Like I've created, like this last 2 months, I've created such a way of eating where like slowly I'll add in a couple different things each week, right? And like that's something I want to do in the next couple of weeks is just put out like a day eating, like a couple days eating, because I actually rotate quite a bit when I'm eating. And if I have an off night, it's so easy for me to get back on track. So I'm like, oh, I love the food I eat normally. It's just not like the bad stuff.
Yeah.
But it's so easy to get back on track. It's like, oh, I like that food just as much. You know what I mean?
I think biggest takeaway today for our clients, those of you listening to the podcast, if you got nutrition questions, bounce them off a coach.
Yeah.
We've got a pretty good base for nutrition knowledge. Some of the coaches have a better nutrition grasp than others do. I know I have a grasp of nutrition, but I'm not I'll probably refer you on up to somebody else if you come ask me about nutrition. But a lot of times with nutrition, you talked about this, you inadvertently guilt yourself into, when your nutrition's off, you guilt yourself into not asking people questions, but going online and maybe finding things that aren't the healthiest options for you to do. And at the end of the day, our goal for you is health. Mm-hmm. And so go ask your coach. They'll be more than happy to point you in the right direction.
Yeah, always, when it comes to, if you see an article or something online, like, I'm not saying, like, me or someone else on staff is the number one, like, end-all, be-all to nutrition ever, right? Yeah. That's not what I'm saying. But no matter where you're getting the information from, you should always ask why and then look for another article that explains the same thing. Mm-hmm. Don't go off just one. Nope. Don't get drug into just the same old.
Yep.
Right? It's kind of why I always answer every question from a client with it depends.
Yeah.
Because everyone's a little bit different. Everything's going to be a little bit different. Like right now I'm nutrition coaching 6 people. None of them look the same in terms of what they're doing. Right? Everyone's got something slightly different.
Yeah.
Right? And now all of them started on a slightly different path to get there.
Yep.
So, I mean, anyone who's telling you that it's just going to be one way and we're just going to streamline it, it's not. There's some common factors and there's uncommon factors to everyone's diet.
Gotcha. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hopefully next week Shane will be back.
Yeah. We miss you, man.
Yeah, if he's not out in the woods somewhere chasing mice. What do owls eat? Shane, what do you eat?
Whole dogs.
Yep, whole dogs. Have a good one.
Oh, yeah, I got to turn the camera off.
Yeah, it works.